Up until the 1930s, there were about 400 human zoos in Germany alone. Most of these Africans were homesick.
400
Some
human.
died.
Oh, I love you more than words can say.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's your boy again, Shad, the one and only, and today we are back again, guys. Today, guys, we're here to check out how and why Germany got rid of its black population. I mean, okay, interesting. Like, this topic looks crazy. All right, it looks crazy. And before we start this, all right, guys, this is not to generate any ill feelings in anybody at all. Okay, we're here to learn about history and things that have happened in the past. All right, and also I intend to make videos of my experiences here and the things that I generally do. I'm going to endeavor to put up some vlogs as well, okay, on this channel, but let's see how things go. Anyway, that's too much, guys. Let's jump on this right over and check it out. But before we start, make sure you smash like, subscribe, give me some love. Also, make sure you send me interesting videos, okay, in line with this topic or not, but just send me videos that you know are going to spark my interest. All right, guys, let's get this video started. First of all, I'm just going to subscribe to the new tourists like this, and then boom.
The Afro-Germans, otherwise known as the Black Germans, are citizens or residents of Germany that are from sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
There were lots of black people in Germany in the 18th century, but their number decreased after a while, causing few or no Afro-German in some parts of Germany.
Do you know, before I never thought that there were black people in Germany like before World War II. Like, it never crossed my mind. I mean, maybe because I was in Africa growing up, but I never thought about this. So when people say they want to go to Germany, I'm like, Germany? World War country? I mean, I'm sorry, but that was my ignorance because I was a kid, you know. But then growing up, I actually learned a lot.
Cities such as Hamburg and Frankfurt, which were formerly centers of occupation forces following World War II and more recent immigration, have substantial Afro-German communities. With modern trade and migration, communities such as Frankfurt, Berlin, Munich, and Cologne have an increasing number of Afro-Germans. Kevin Prince Boyding and his twin brother Jerome are descendants from the Afro-Germans.
Okay.
In this video, we are going to be talking about the erasure of African descent in Germany and what led to their reduction. Stay tuned and learn more. Let's begin.
Okay, interesting topic. Interesting topic. I never knew a video like this existed, but anyway, like I said, like the way you guys send me videos, I really appreciate it. And please do send me more videos that I know will spark my interest. I really am very interested.
History of Afro-Germans. Frederick William, a Grand Elector of Brandenburg, Prussia, founded the Brandenburg African Company in 1682.
1682.
He also ordered the establishment of a fort on the coast of present-day Ghana to rival Europe's great sea powers. The fort was named Grob Friedrichsburg. It was designed to serve as a point of departure for the German slave trade.
Okay.
Years later, German slave ships, such as the Friedrich III, transported thousands of African slaves.
Wait, slave trade? I thought it was mainly America, the UK, so England, Portugal, Spain, and then those Arab nations that were really involved in it. I didn't know Germans were actually really involved in slave trade as well.
Some of the slaves ended up on the slave market of St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. St. Thomas is known to be the most prominent slave market in the world. Africans were brought as slaves from the western coast of Africa, where a number of German estates were established, primarily on the Gold Coast. 12 Negro boys were brought from the western part of Africa. 6 were decorated with golden chains and presented to the king. These enslaved children were later bought by their new masters, and they were taken to Potsdam and Berlin. King Friedrich Wilhelm I of Prussia later sold his Ghana Grob Friedrichsburg estates, situated in Africa, in 1717.
No way.
During this period, slaves were traded for German linen fabrics and interracial couples were pressured. Before World War I, thousands of black people lived in Germany.
Before World War I, there were thousands of... Interesting.
Some of which came from Africa, North and South America, and the Caribbean. The First World War limited international travel and migration in 1914. The Germans imposed strict migration rules. Some that had traveled to the country for business only stayed for a while. then left before the war commenced. After World War I ended, the immigrants who were still in the country could not leave because they had no passports or travel documents. Hence, they were stranded in the country. The erasure of the Afro-Germans. The erasure of people of African descent from Germany is a gradual process that eventually occurred after several harsh conditions and laws. The Afro-Germans population largely declined during the Nazi regime. The Nazis, short for National Socialists, were a political party that rose to power in Germany in the 1930s, led by Adolf Hitler. The Nazi Party was known for its extreme nationalism, racism, and totalitarianism, and sought to establish a fascist state based on these ideals. In the 19th century, several thousand blacks were living in Germany, but when the Nazis came into power, the blacks were harassed and persecuted.
Yo, I mean, like, a lot of racists in the world have suffered. I know of the Slavs, from where the word slave came about, from what I heard. Okay, we can check out that topic still. But the black race has really suffered a lot. Really suffered a lot. So one time I was thinking, was the black race cursed or something? Yeah, I actually did think about that. I was like, why?
The Nazi regime promoted the idea of Aryan supremacy
and
aimed to purify the German population through eugenics and racial policies. Non-Aryans, including Jews, Roma, Sinti, homosexuals, disabled individuals, and people of African descent, were considered inferior and targeted for exclusion and persecution. During this period, the Nazis' policies became more extreme. They created laws that made most black people end up in prisons, hospitals, psychiatric facilities, and concentration camps. Many Afro-Germans were also forcibly conscripted into the German military during...
Wait, there were black people in the German military during the World War? Like in the German military? American military, yeah, I know of that. But in the German military?
During the war, and those who fought on the front lines faced additional discrimination and mistreatment. Some Afro-German soldiers were sent to the Eastern Front, where they were treated particularly harshly by their fellow soldiers and subjected to brutal conditions. A lot of Afro-Germans died during this period. This was one of the reasons which led to their decline in population. The Nuremberg race laws.
They were like a lamb sent to the slaughter. Even though they were fighting for the same cause, they were still being treated like that.
The Nazi regime declared the Nuremberg race laws in September 1935. These laws were put in place because of the Jews, but in November 1935, the law also affected the black and the Roman people.
Okay, yeah, I know, like, he was really after the Jews. Like, he had that thing for the Jews, okay? And then it also boiled down to the blacks of that time.
During this period, those of non-Aryan descent were called. The first Nuremberg law was also known as the Reich Citizenship Law. It stated that a German citizen was of German origin or related by blood. This law was to exclude non-Aryans from political rights in Germany. The second law was for the protection of German blood and German honor. With this law, race mixing, otherwise known as race defilement, was banned. The law forbade intermarriage or sexual relations between the German or its related blood. This law aimed to prevent black people from marrying and having children with Germans. The Nuremberg race laws made it difficult for the blacks in Germany to marry or to build a future. Despite the laws against interracial couples, some blacks who were romantically engaged to the German Aryans got married, though the relationship was dangerous for both partners. The law pressured white German women to divorce their black husbands. They felt the presence of the Afro-Germans was a threat to their racial purity. Afro-Germans were popularly known as Rhineland bastards, a derogatory term used to describe people of mixed race ancestry. The detests for the African descent also made Bernhard Dernberg, the German director for colonial affairs, make a derogatory statement. He announced that some native tribes, just like some animals, must be destroyed. During this period, not only were the Africans hated, the Jews and some people who were not related to German blood were criticized.
Can you imagine this? people were in their continent, just there in their continent, and then you go to their continent, and then you take them to your continent, to your country, enslave them, use them, finally free them, and then now you say, oh, no, they're a defilement, wipe them all out. But at first they were in the continent, they didn't come to your continent, you come over and you bring them in. That is the most saddest thing I've heard in my life.
Black children were excluded from schools. They suffered a lot of criticism from their parents. They felt lonely, isolated, and excluded from society.
Trauma.
The children wanted to be part of the German excitement, but that wasn't allowed. At first, the discrimination against school children was a local initiative, but things got worse when the Nazis took control of schooling and enforced formal bans against black students. The Nazi law completely banned Jewish children from attending German public schools.
Jews and blacks.
Let's stop here for a minute. Encourage us to continue making videos like this by liking this video and subscribing to the New Tourist channel.
Done. Liked, subscribed, followed, everything, and I'm going to check it out more.
Do not forget to turn on notifications so you get notified whenever we upload interesting videos like this. Let's continue. Forced sterilization. This was a wicked strategy used by the Nazis to persecute black people in Germany. They forcefully sterilized the multiracial children in Rhineland.
Yo, this is a madness.
The Nazis wanted to prevent race mixing, so they forcibly sterilized the black men while seeing them as a threat to the strength and purity of the Aryan race. This sterilization was to make them unable to have children. They announced the law for the prevention of offspring with hereditary diseases in a bid to prevent race mixing in 1933. During this period, about 400,000 people were sterilized. For instance, Ferdinand Allen, who was from a black British father and a white German mother, suffered from epilepsy and was forcibly sterilized by court order on May 15, 1941. Allen was later murdered at Bernburg by the Nazis, following their T4 program. We are going to be telling you more about this T4 program shortly. A secret Gestapo coordinated the forced sterilization of multiracial children in 1930, and a total of 385 children and teenagers were forcibly sterilized. Establishment of the T4 program. The T4 program, also known as the euthanasia program, was a Nazi policy involving the involuntary euthanasia of people with physical and mental disabilities. The program also targeted other groups deemed unworthy of life, including Afro-Germans.
People unworthy of life. A human being just decide that another human being is just unworthy of life, but they are worthy of life.
The T4 program had a significant impact on the decline of Afro-Germans because it allowed the forced sterilization and murder of those who were considered racially inferior. One of the victims of the T4 program is hilarious Larry Gilges, who was a black German dancer and communist activist. He was murdered by the Nazis and his body was left on the street on June 20, 1933. Gilges' murder took place during the first months of the Nazi regime. The law for the restoration of the professional civil service. The law for the restoration of the professional civil service was enacted in April 1933. The law provided for the removal of Jews and others deemed politically unreliable from government positions, including teaching positions in schools and universities, administrative positions, and other roles within the civil service. The law defined Jews as anyone who had at least one Jewish grandparent, and also included political dissidents, homosexuals, and others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. African descent was greatly affected by this law because only citizens could allegedly become civil servants. Naturalized Afro-Germans lost their passports, and the working conditions became difficult, especially for those in prominent industries such as music or movies. Many Germans embraced this ideology and openly discriminated against black people on their initiative. Colleagues and bosses were reluctant to work with people.
Okay, I post this to say that this video is not aimed to create ill feelings in anyone or thoughts of revenge or any form of hatred at all. Okay, I believe in learning from history. I believe in learning about things that have passed, that are past, things that have happened. There's nothing you can do about it. It's happened already. But learning and knowing is very, very important. Okay, because how would you know where you're going to where you don't know where you're coming from? Okay, it's important to learn and know things that have been in the past. All right, and also not to let ill feelings boil up in any of us. Like, there are a lot of things that I don't know. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay, and I learned a lot of things, like reading and checking out things about history. And this video is actually an interesting one. Painful, very painful, but interesting. And also, as you can see, it's not just the black race that was affected. The blacks were affected, the Jews too were affected. So it's not just like it's targeted at one race. But back in the day, okay, like the wickedness deep in the heart of man was just insane. I mean, even right now, man's heart is very wicked. When I say man, humanity's heart, humans are very wicked. But I'm glad that we're becoming more civil. Are we actually becoming more civil? Well, times now are better than times before, but we can still do better. Okay, because there are still traces of racism. So much.
Whose skin color marked them as outsiders in the Nazi racial community. All these rules that were brought up by the Germans helped in the reduction and erasure of African descent from Germany. It is important to know that in the latter years, Afro-Germans have fought for their rights. They used a variety of methods to fight for their rights. They have participated in protests and demonstrations to demand their rights and challenge racial discrimination. For example, the black community in Germany organized protests against discriminatory laws and practices, such as the ban on interracial marriage in the 1920s and 1930s. In addition to protests, they have engaged in civil disobedience, such as refusing to comply with discriminatory laws or regulations. An example is Theodor Michael, a black German who refused to comply with the Nazi policy of racial segregation in public transportation during World War II. Afro-Germans have also used legal action to challenge discriminatory practices and laws. In the 1950s and 1960s, some Afro-Germans successfully challenged the German government's refusal to grant them citizenship rights. In his book, Being German and Also Black, Theodor Michael Wanja, whose father was originally from Douala in Cameroon and his mother German, recounts how his father and other Africans were kept in human zoos for ethnological expositions. That was the best most blacks could do at the time to make a living in Germany. Germans put them there, and other white people came to watch them without any shame. Up until the 1930s, there
I'm finding this hard to believe. Like, I'm finding this hard to believe. Someone has mentioned to me before that people are put in zoos, but I was like, come on, man. What are you talking about? So it's actually true. This is really disgusting.
German and also black, Theodor Michael Wanja,
disgusting.
whose father was originally from Douala in Cameroon and his mother German, recounts how his father and other Africans were kept in human zoos for ethnological expositions. That was the best most blacks could do at the time to make a living in Germany. Germans put them there, and other white people came to watch them without any shame. Up until the 1930s, there were about 400 human zoos in Germany alone. Most of these Africans were homesick. Some died because they couldn't get vaccinated or any treatment.
400 human zoos.
Other white people came to watch them without any shame. Up until the 1930s, there were about 400 human zoos in Germany alone. Most of these Africans were homesick. Some died because they couldn't get vaccinated or any treatment. Their cultural expressions, such as music, literature, and art, have gone a long way to challenge stereotypes and assert their identity. For example, the Afro-German jazz musician Louis Armstrong was an important cultural figure in Germany during the 1930s and 1940s. Sadly, some Afro-Germans who fought for their rights were killed for their activism. Amadeu Antonio Quioa, who was an activist, was murdered by neo-Nazis in 1992. His death sparked widespread outrage and led to the creation of the Amadeu Antonio Foundation, which works to combat racism and xenophobia in Germany. Memorial plaques called Stolperstein, meaning stumbling stones, have been dedicated to black victims of Nazi persecution and murder. Now that you know about the erasure of the Afro-Germans, it will be interesting to know there were also Afro-Argentines. We have added a video on our channel which talks about how Argentina got rid of its black population. Make sure you watch it too. Like and subscribe to the New Tourist channel, and do not forget to turn on notifications so you get notified whenever we upload interesting content like this.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah. Racists have suffered, but the way, yeah, the extent to which the black race has suffered is insane. Like, the extent to which has suffered is just crazy. Like, what has the black race done? Okay, I mean, like, it just makes no sense. Yes, other races have suffered too. Like I said, the Slavs have suffered, the Jews have suffered a lot, okay, with the Holocaust and that. But it's so crazy, man. It's crazy, it's so sad, okay. I'm really glad that those times have passed, okay, and now the black race has got some recognition. But racism still exists very, very, very much. Someone made a comment one time that many races have suffered racism, but the black race have suffered it more. What do you guys think? Honestly, in my opinion, the extent to which the black race has suffered is immeasurable. Yeah, really immeasurable. But anyway, like I said, it is history. It's in the time past. It's not time to start developing ill feelings towards people that subjected the black race to any horrendous acts. Okay, it's not time to start thinking of hatred. Okay, we've come a long way. We've come out of those times. But like I said, it's good to know history. Like, I never knew things like this, and the way I learn a lot of things like this is from reading. And sometimes random videos will just pop up and I'm like, did this actually happen? I Google it up, I check archives, I'm like, this actually happened? That is so crazy. One thing that I'm at least happy about is how Germany have come out of their past, how Germany have moved so far ahead. I've said to a lot of you guys that I like Germany, and that is why most of the videos on this channel are German. 98% it's just channel towards Germany. I don't know, something about that country I like. Okay, I know a lot of times, like, people wonder why would a black guy like Germany. People have asked me in the UK, a lot of people have asked me a lot, but I don't know, just something about the culture, about their life, about their food, about their language, about their humor. They're just so straight and direct. I find it funny and very interesting. Okay, anyway, I'm diverted. Anyway, I want to say I'm really happy at how Germany have come out of their past. Germany are surging ahead. Okay, I've been there many times and I do like it. I think it's a very lovely, great place to live. I've learned a lot about the language, and yeah, interesting, very interesting. I just want to say to you Germans, just keep on surging ahead, and the way you've come ahead, okay, like, is very commendable, okay. And I hope, like, a lot of nations actually kind of follow suit. Okay, the UK too has come a very long way. Okay, has come a very long way. And I also commend the UK for that. All right, but there's still more we can do. There are better things that we can do. This video is about positivity, not about negativity. Yes, we've learned about the gory past, okay, that the black race have gone through, the Jews have gone through, many other races have gone through, but it's not time to start feeling angry, developing hatred. Okay, it's happened. May the souls of those victims rest in peace. Okay, it's heavy, it's hard, but come on, we can move ahead. We can surge ahead and do better. We can. Yeah. Alright then, this is your boy Shad, the one and only. I hope you've learned from this like I did, and I'm going to catch you soon. Peace out, guys.
Oh, and I promise that